Public Display of Affection by LoveBeyete. Malik. I might be pronouncing that wrong. I apologize in advance. Summary. Espio and Silver are having a little bonding moment on a grassy hill. Short one shot, fluff without plot. Silver is getting used to living in the past timeline. Espio is hopelessly in love. Notes. This one's pretty short, but I hope you enjoy it. There's not enough Espio Silver content out there, and that makes me sad. If there's not content, it's time to make some though. I don't think there's anything I need to explain in the notes, but if something is confusing, let me know and I'll explain it to the best of my ability. See the end of work for more notes. Alright, notes end. Warm afternoon sunshine felt good on his usually chilly skin, a gentle breeze making the otherwise unbearable heat just pleasant enough. The air had a subtle scent of freshly mowed lawn and what could only be called the smell of upcoming rainfall. Espio frowned at the thought. He wasn't all that fond of rain and overall cold weather. He knew his boyfriend was going to be thrilled though, always excited as ever about all the weather phenomenon, no matter how long he remained in this timeline. Espio would never forget the absolute bliss on Silver's face when he saw a rainbow for the first time. It had already been 3 months since the hedgehog, along with Blaze, moved here for good. The cat had an easier time getting used to the environment, having lived in a society of the Soul Kingdom in the past. Silver was starting from the ground level, if not below it though. He had to learn basic social constructs and cues. He still had a lot to learn, but he'd been making a lot of progress with everyone's help. Silver was world curious and just so eager to discover new things. He had this kind of childish wonder about him. That's what Espio found charming about him when they first met. It reminded him too much of himself years ago, back when he first ran away from his family home, having never been outside before. He didn't know what he would have done if not for Vector, who found him and was merciful enough to help him out. The chameleon wanted to be of the same help to Silver, not wanting him to feel as lost and confused as him back then. Another thing that attracted Espio's attention to the young hedgehog was just how friendly he was. He wanted to get along with everyone, even if they weren't that eager in return. Silver didn't seem to notice that though, and Espio didn't have the heart to tell him. He got along well with most of the gang. Aside from him and Blaze, he spent the most time with Sonic, who just seemed to be a natural at making friends with everyone he met. Knuckles was another one who the white hedgehog would call a close friend, both seemingly enjoying spending quiet time together in the wilderness of the Angel Island. Knuckles also mentioned something about appreciating being able to teach someone about the things he cares about, and Silver was more than happy to learn new things. He got along well with Tails as well, but although he wanted to learn as many new things as possible, he didn't seem to understand much of the technological and scientific stuff the Fox was a specialist at. The hedgehog confessed to Espio that he felt very insecure about not being as smart as Tails. The chameleon reassured him nobody was as smart as Sonic's brother, not even Dr. Eggman. That made him feel better. He wasn't able to become good friends with Shadow, no matter how much he tried. Their personalities seemed to collide too much. Shadow was stoic, and Espio was qualified to say as one of his closest friends, as much as he wanted to hide it, quite shy. Not shy in a general way. He was capable of talking to people on a surface level, but when it came to anything deeper than nice weather we're having, he had a pretty hard time carrying out a conversation. To anyone else, it would seem like he's cold, but Espio knew better, and he understood why they wouldn't make great friends. The younger hedgehog's presence could become too overwhelming to Shadow, especially since Silver wasn't able to read it if he was making anyone uncomfortable. But his boyfriend had told him before about how uneasy the black hedgehog made him feel as well. He told him about his dreams, nightmares which he had been having long prior to coming to the past. of a hedgehog who Silver swore looked just like Shadow. A black hedgehog sweeping with tar, whispering in his ears, holding him down, hurting him. It was the only time he'd told Espio about his nightmares verbally, and it was the first time the chameleon saw him break down. He reassured him those were just dreams, and that Silver was convinced there was more to it. Espio was brought back to reality when he felt the warmth of his boyfriend's hand on his right one as he brought it to his furry chest. "How can your hand still be this cold in this weather?" the white hedgehog asked, baffled, playing with his boyfriend's fingers. They were both lying on a hill, soft grass and sprouting early spring plants surrounding them. Espio could name a few, both being Crocucus and Ecotnites. I don't know how to pronounce those two words. "They're just like that," the chameleon snorted through his nose, taking in the pout on Silver's face. He had no time to react before the hedgehog pressed a gentle kiss on the palm of his hands, staring back into his eyes. He immediately went to his face as he pulled his arm back, sitting up and looking away at a nearby river. The water was probably still too cold to swim in, he thought. That's enough. "Aw, but nobody's even here," he complained, sitting up as well and throwing his arms around his boyfriend's shoulders. Espio let him. "It doesn't matter. We're still in a public place," he answered, tone stoic as always, and face crimson red. He shouldn't let the hedgehog get to him this easily. He was becoming soft. "That makes it PDA. "Don't be like this," he whined, hiding his face into the crook of the purple chameleon's neck. Espio couldn't push him away, though. The warmth felt too addicting. The sun lasted long, and the chameleon wouldn't have minded it if it wasn't that unusual for the other. "Silver," he asked, "are you alright?" He answered with a hum, pausing, pushing himself more against Espio to get even closer. "Just haven't been sleeping very well." "Nightmares again?" He remained quiet, rubbing Silver's back, being careful to mind the other's quills. He stabbed himself one too many times for his own liking. "Have you tried writing them down?" "Yeah," he whispered, what sent a shiver down Espio's spine. "But they don't really make much sense." A sigh. "They seem like they align into one story, but it's so mismatched and messy, I can't really figure it out, you know." "Should I come over later and take a look? Maybe someone else's fresh point of view would help." Really, the hedgehog's ears twitched, a cheerful hint to his still quiet voice. "You'll come?" "Not for the night, no. Don't get the wrong idea." Aw, his excitement immediately toned down. The chameleon knew that his presence helped with Silver's chronic nightmares, but no matter how much he wanted to, he couldn't do that for him. Espio felt the paw pads of the hedgehog's fingers playing with his spine spikes. "Why do you never sleep over?" "You know Blaze doesn't like it when I do," he said. The silence between them was almost painful. Silver, visibly stressing over what to say next, his embrace on his boyfriend became even stronger. "Blaze doesn't hate you," his voice was uncertain, as if he's forgotten how to speak the language all of a sudden. "I know," he answered. "I'm not worried about that." He was. He thought about how cold and distant the cat became when her self-proclaimed sibling announced one day that the two of them became a couple. He thought about how much her behavior towards him had changed after that. When they first met, each as stoic as the other, their exchange focused mainly on getting the work done. They shared mutual respect for each other, though, both pleasantly satisfied with their ability of cooperative work. When it came to stealth missions, they seemed to be ideal partners. But after Espio had grown fond of Silver, and through a series of awkward exchanges and embarrassed glances finally started dating him, it felt as if he had become Blaze's greatest enemy. She often wouldn't even say a word to him when they had to cooperate during a mission, hushing him down immediately or nodding in silent understanding. In their free time, she would do anything just to avoid his presence. Unless Silver was with them, that's when she'd make sure to watch his every move with a hard stare. When he looked back at her, her eyes wouldn't even waver, and Espio wasn't sure that if he looked into her eyes for too long, he'd probably end up burnt up to a crisp. He hoped Silver didn't notice, but knew he did, and he was greatly upset about it. It's just always been only the two of us, the White Hedgehog whispered, his throat tightened. She doesn't trust me? It's not like that, he whined, but didn't say anything more. So that's what it was about, huh? I don't blame her, Espio pushed Silver away. The other didn't protest, only kneeling in front of him, refusing to look the other in the eye. The conflicted expression on his face made Espio's heart swell in his chest. I want to make myself worthy in her eyes. You're both very important to me. He reached out to grab his boyfriend's hands in his own, squeezing them, unsure if to reassure him or himself. I don't want to have to choose between you two. You won't have to, he squeezed back. I want you two to get along. I'll work on it. Promise. Espio leaned in, putting his left hand on Silver's shoulder, the right one caressing his waist. He captured his lips into a kiss, humming at the warmth of the other's body. How could he always keep this temperature in? And even so, he still often complained about being cold. The chameleon wished he could be of any help. It wasn't long before he pulled away. Promise. This time it was Silver who initiated the kiss. It felt much more sloppy and clumsy, but Espio didn't mind in the slightest. He felt the heat going up into his face, and at this point he was too embarrassed to break the kiss, knowing his boyfriend would tease him a lot about blushing so easily. He felt Silver's hot hands on his back, pulling him closer and closer. Although he didn't think it was possible, he heard a silent, satisfied groan coming from his boyfriend. And was that purring bubbling in his throat? Chaos. He loved him so much. It felt so addictive. He wanted more. He needed more. He thought he would be the one teaching Silver things. He thought he'd lead him out of his confusion, but it was Silver who was teaching him, though, wasn't it? He never thought he'd be able to feel such intense emotion as love. Your lips are cold, Silver chuckled as he broke the kiss, bringing his hand to the other's cheek. Espio just smiled back. What was that about no PDA? You kind of forced me there. He pushed him away. The hedgehog groaned exaggeratedly as he fell on the back, a hurt look on his face. Meanie, the Espio looked up in the sky. It was going to start raining soon. Let's go home, he said, getting up and offering his hand to Silver. Your place? A pure expression of joy fell upon his boyfriend's face. He jumped to his feet as quickly as he could, laughing as the first droplets of rain started to fall, some landing on his heated face. And more notes. I just want everyone to be happy. Please let me know if you like, comments, highly appreciated. And that is the end of Public Display of Affection by LoveBeyete. I might be pronouncing that name wrong, but it is cute fanfic. If you like, a link to it will be down below, so go and give some comments, because again, highly appreciated. And yeah, bye bye.